Okay, here we are picking up with the last part of the story. I hope that we get finished with it. We need to finish our part of reading by 1:45 so I can get to my last reading group today. And then we have library at 2 o'clock, so we'll see how our timing goes. So we'll do a quick review of these words. I know that Akaya and Jared missed them. How do you like that picture? Aren't those little guys cute? So that's what we keep talking about, is that we'll never forget the word absurd without envisioning these absurd little dogs. And that absurd means something is absurd if you think it is silly or ridiculous. They looked ridiculous, didn't they? I look kind of cute too. Okay, so then we move on to the word taunt. Look at the expression on him as he challenges his opponent. He's taunting. Taunting means that we're saying things to anger or upset someone else will. Then we have forfeit. You can see by the expressions on their face that they're not very happy. Something must have happened, that they lost the game. If you forfeit something, you lose it because you have broken a rule. Now we have despised. You can't really tell. Some of you think shoveling snow is fun, but this kid does not think that he likes shoveling snow. Despised means that you have a strong dislike for it. Now we have ferocious. When you see it ferocious with the cheetah, it helps you understand what ferocious is. Ferocious is something that is ferocious is very mean or fierce or violent. Then we have elaborately. We looked really closely at that picture. Look at how intricate, how detailed this thing is. If something is elaborately dressed or decorated, it has many complex artistic details. Then we have coveted, this cute little puppy. Oh, look at the cute little puppy. Here it says coveted means you want it very, very much. I think that's the last of our words. Yep. Okay, moving on. You saw this picture, this chart. This is the third time you're seeing it, where you're visualizing. Most of you have received a worksheet that you're supposed to fill in at least one, if not two, of the box sets showing how you visualize something after you've read it. So we're looking at visualizing as using your senses to create pictures in your mind. So what are you seeing? If they're describing something, can you imagine what it smells like? If the text or the book is describing something, can you imagine what it would sound like? Those of you that are reading the one about the bombing, think about what that would sound like. What would it taste like? What would it feel like? Those of you reading about the little lamb, or think about what that little lamb would feel like. Or was it a goat? Was it a goat or a lamb? Lamb, okay. So this is where we left off yesterday. So notice the picture. Notice how their reactions, what their reactions are. And here we go. The game of silence continues. Notice that they have this little decoration, which shows that they have changed, or they have went to another part of the story.
Ag! Omakayas exploded with such a wild sound of rage that Nokomis jumped. Pinch retreated, unnerved by how sorely he'd tested his sister. Omakayas breathed out in relief. These visitors were her friends and cousins, Twilight, Little Bee, and Two-Strike Girl. They had brought the boy she called, in her mind, the angry one. Her cousins were her favorite friends, the ones she counted on. Twilight was much like her name, quiet and thoughtful. Little Bee was funny and bold. Two-Strike was tough, and she could do anything a boy could do, usually better. Since her mother had died, she was wilder than ever. Even her father had not been able to handle Two Strike and had left her with Auntie Muskrat. But Auntie Muskrat had had no success in taming Two Strike. Sometimes she was so fierce that she outdid everyone. It was a challenge to play with her. The girls had learned to sew and bead together, gathered berries, and helped their mothers clean fish. They also learned early on how to tan hides, a task that Omachaius despised. And now, too, her sister, Angeline, was home. Omachaius grinned with satisfaction. Pinch was delightfully outnumbered by girls and would pout, creeping to Mama's side when she arrived, and turning into a baby, hoping to be pampered with tidbits of meat and maple sugar. Despised. If you despised something, you felt a strong dislike for it.
Okay. They describe someone in this story. And when they were first listing all of the names, let's see, the names are like right here, Twilight, Little Bee, and Two Strike Girl. And then they brought a boy that she called, in her mind, the angry one. Well, let's think about Two Strike Girl. Because here they're talking about, now visualize things. Here, Twilight, they're saying much like her name, thoughtful and quiet. Quiet. Okay? Visualizing what Twilight's like. Little Bee was funny and bold. Think about a little bee buzzing around. The rest of you who have books out should really have the books put away. Unless you're looking inside your book, which some of you are, which is great. Two Strike was tough and could do anything a boy could do, and usually better. So you look at this. It says they can't even handle her. And so she got left with Auntie Muskrat. And she didn't have any success in taming Two Strike either. So visualize what kind of what does a Two Strike look like in your mind? What does Two Strike look like in your mind? Raise your hand if you got an idea. Millie, what you think?
Well, kind of like crazy and like really athletic.
Okay, really athletic, kind of crazy. Okay, what you think?
Some crazy girl that has two ponytails going on each side.
Okay, so she's got the ponytails. Do you think that the ponytails are neat and tidy?
No.
No. Okay. What do you think? How do you think she's dressed? Akaya.
With little stuff that we have on and
Okay.
I think she's a girl.
Do you think she's going to look more like a boy or more like a girl?
Boy,
Why?
she acts like one.
Because she acts like one. Okay, so now this is some stuff that some of you probably didn't pay any attention to. That's why we're going through this whole lesson on visualizing. So what kind of a face? Well, we all have our masks on, so we can't even make the face. Although a few of you forgot to put your mask back on. But, think about what kind of a face would she have? What kind of expression do you think is on her face? What do you think, Phoenix?
Oh, mean?
Mean. Any other thoughts? What?
Growly.
Growly. Grumpy. Angry. You want nobody who would want to mess with her? Yeah. Okay, so what you think, Jacob?
Of the two where I think she's gonna be lazy.
I don't know if I think of her as lazy though. But I mean, I've got some of the same ideas as you guys, where I'm thinking of her probably she's probably tall. Somebody said that she was probably athletic, so she's probably very strong. I'm thinking that she probably has her hair, like they wear them in braids, but I don't think they're very nice. She probably wouldn't have them in very nice braids. It's like she probably braided them just to get it done. I'm thinking that maybe she's like a tomboy.
Yeah.
So she might be like a tomboy. A girl that does more things like a boy than she does like a girl.
And she wants to be a boy.
Not necessarily wanting to be like a boy, but she likes to do boy stuff. I can imagine her having like a scowl or, just like a real, you see her and it's like, you'd see this person walking down the hall and you might want to turn around and go the other direction. You don't want to mess with that person. Okay, maybe even angry at the world. Okay, now something else I want to ask you. Some of you have been in your books. I like that. Some of you have been in your books. Can you find a place in the book that talks about what the kids had to learn how, or what the girls have to learn how to do? Yes, sir. Yes, David.
Will's not giving me any room for my feet.
Will, move over. Okay. Look in your book. Where can you find some things that girls have to do? Maybe even underline them if you have to. So Grace, what did you find?
So, bead.
Okay, so they have to sew and they have to bead. What else do they have to do? Somebody else. Luke.
Gather berries, tan hides, and clean fish.
Okay. So that sounds like they have to do that because it's kind of important for their family to survive. Do kids today have chores you have to do at home?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna call 3 sticks and you're gonna tell me what's something that you have to do at home, whether you like it or whether you despise it. See, I'm using one of our vocabulary words, despise. Akaya, do you have something you have to do?
I have to do my own laundry.
Oh my goodness, she has to do her own laundry. Millie, is there something you have to do?
I have to do my laundry, pick up the garbage, and feed my dog.
Okay, Will, what do you have to do?
Let my dog out, let my chicken dog come away,
Okay,
feed the bird.
raise your hand if you have jobs you have to do at home. Look at that, nearly every hand is in the air. I'm gonna go move to Jared's house. He doesn't have his hand up. No jobs have to be done there?
But the parents have to do it.
Okay, let's move on to our next page.
My parents don't ask me to do it. I do what I need, what I want to do.
That's good. You just help out with whatever needs it. Good deal. There we go.
Now everyone, the children and their parents, squeezed into the lodge. They had made the lodge extra big that summer for visitors. For the first time, it was packed entirely full, but there was enough room for everyone. Even the angry one found a space to sit. He glared from a little spot against the wall. Together, they ate rich venison soup from the shallow birch bark makacoon they'd brought along with them. 2 other men squeezed in, important men. Old Tallow entered, huge and rangy and smelling of wolf. She settled herself, while outside her ferocious dog stood guard, unmoving and alert even in the pelting rain. Each of Old Tallow's feet seemed to take up as much space as a small child. But Omachias didn't mind. Warily, but completely, she loved the fierce old woman. 5. Makacoon. Containers of birch bark folded and often stitched together with basswood fiber. Ferocious. Something that is ferocious is very fierce, mean, and violent.
Okay, why does Old Tallow leave her dogs outside of their house or what? Let's see, outside their house, the lodge, to stand guard? Why would she want the dogs to do that, Jacob?
In case like any wolves come.
Okay. Ethan, do you have an idea on that too?
Like if any animals like bills and raccoons.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of some ferocious animals.
Okay. Phoenix?
She said she was rich.
I don't recall that. Phoenix had said maybe that she was rich, but I don't recall that. Anybody else have any ideas? Why would we want guard dogs? What are guard dogs for? Grace? To protect. So if she put guard dogs outside the lodge, what are they being protected against? We thought animals. Is there any other reason they might be having problems, Tucker? People. They might be guarding against people.
Like intruders.
Might be intruders. Remember when on a different page, it was on page 49 when we looked at the picture on 49, and we have the people coming, and they have just a really, really grim expression. They don't have a very happy look to their faces. And they knew that they were going to be talking about stuff because wasn't there problems going on? Okay, moving on to the next page, page 153.
Each visitor brought a gift for the pile that the children who won the game of silence would choose from that night. For it was an important night. With the raggedy ones came serious doings, difficult questions, and impossible news. Great attention was needed. The grown-ups needed to counsel, think, absorb the facts, without having to shush small children. The children could tell how important the meeting was from the degree to which their silence was required. The pile of treats was the best ever. There was a bag of marbles, some of actual glass, not just clay. A pair of narrow moccasin that Omakayas thought just might fit her. One doll, elaborately dressed in a tiny set of breeches and a leather coat. A sharp knife, a deer knuckle game, 2 duck's bills of maple sugar tied together with split jack pine root, 6 red ribbons, a little roll of flowered cloth, 8 tiny bells, 1 small bow, and 6 arrows tipped with real brass points cut from a trade kettle. The arrows were fletched with the sharp black and yellow feathers of a bird that the island where they lived was named for, the golden-breasted woodpecker. Old Tallow must have brought them. What treasures! The children examined them breathlessly, each picking out one particular prize they meant to win. Elaborately. If something is elaborately dressed or decorated, it has many complex artistic details.
Okay. As they were doing this list, now if you want to look at the board, the list is starting right in here. And they have, there was a bag of marbles, some actual glass. We see that picture right here. And then they have a pair of narrow moccasins. And now look at that. It's not the way we're used to seeing moccasin. So if you had not heard them pronounce it, could you use the picture to figure it out? Because you can look at the picture. Oh, now that came up. You can look at the picture and you can see there's moccasins. But in this story, the moccasins are written differently. Moccasins, the way I know how to spell moccasin is not like that.
I don't know how to spell it all.
So sometimes you have to rely on picture clues.
Little Bee, of course, wanted the doll. Two-Strike Girl, the bow and arrows. Pinch coveted the knife, but he was torn by greed for the maple sugar and the need for marbles to replace those he'd lost. The angry one did not deign to move from his spot or look at the gifts. No doubt he'd have no problem winning the game. As for Twilight, quiet and serene, she had no trouble playing the game, and she would be content with anything. Omakayas wanted the ribbons, the bells, and the marbles too, but she settled on the moccasin because she had watched her grandmother make them so carefully. They were fancy, with velvet ankle cuffs, the tops beaded with flowers and little white sparkling vines, worth her silence. Now the grown-ups were ready to start talking. Nokomis sang the song of the game of silence 4 times, nearly catching Pinch at the end. Then she turned away from them too, absorbed in the talk. Coveted. If you coveted something, You wanted it very much. Omakayas looked longingly at Twilight, and her cousin made a sad and frustrated face. With her favorite cousin so close, and her annoying brothers so near, it was difficult to play. If only they could talk. At first, the girls communicated by mouthing words and moving their eyes, but the temptation to laugh was too great. They turned away from each other unwillingly. Omakayas listened to the rain, a solid drumming and hissing. Then she listened to the fire crackling and sighing. She watched the beautiful and changing glow of the coals. At some point, Omakayas couldn't tell exactly when, her attention was caught by something her father said. And then she noticed that her cousin Twilight was also listening to the grown-ups' conversation. Soon, they all couldn't help but listen. They leaned forward, straining to hear every sound, almost forgetting to breathe.
Okay. I want you to reread paragraph 19. That's this page. I want you to reread that. I want you to start visualizing the part of the story when Omakaya realizes that she and the other children are paying attention to the adults and they're no longer playing their game. Can you find that? And then I want you to envision what that would look like if you were making a movie out of it.
Do you have to underline it? too?
That'd be great. Okay, who has an idea or has a movie in their mind after reading that part? What kind of things can you imagine? So I've got a few hands in the air. Phoenix, what you think?
Them sitting down on logs and then, like leaning their heads whatever way the grown-ups are and just carefully listening.
Okay, so what Phoenix had said is that he can imagine them sitting on logs, maybe leaning forward, trying to hear what the grown-ups are saying. Did I get all of it? Okay, Millie.
I just picture them all sitting by the fire, and then I just picture like all the fires like looking around the other adults, and then like her listening.
Okay.
Like this.
So people at home, you can't see Will's expression, but Will's got himself on his chair, sitting cross-legged, kind of like leaning forward and really listening. In other words, like when Mrs. Shutter talks about active listening, what's your body position? They were really, really listening, Marshall. Okay, looking at the time, we have to stop here. We don't have time to finish our story, so we'll finish that tomorrow.
Bye.